But let's take one last look at ABHINAV's accomplishments and his team. This is actually his first top cut ever.
And I want to point out, he competed a lot in 2022, and he had multiple 9th place appearances, so losing in the losers finals. And then I believe he was 9th place in the India qualifiers as well, so he was so close to getting top cut. And this time, he is top cut, which I'm just going to say it now, this might be the team that everyone copies. He copied the iteration from Wadaj. He made it better. His words, not mine. I think it is better, though. And so I feel like other trainers might be using this team as a template for future tournaments.
That's right. It's like the next evolution of that meta team, and it could be exactly right what trainers kind of look to as their model. We saw some trainers looking at Dunebug's team from the last tournament, and here we have CalebPeng on the other side, standing in ABHINAV's way. We did just see those accomplishments. Again, he's been 2nd place twice before, and I want to also call out Caleb's consistency. He's only played in 3 tournaments before this, and he was 2nd place in 2 of them. This is actually only his 4th tournament ever. He's again in his 3rd grand finals.
75% chance at the grand finals. That's a better chance than Zap Cannon. So well done to CalebPeng there. And of course, he is bringing that signature Pokemon Bastion. I'm really interested to see how much it is deployed here, because if you look at the counters from ABHINAV, he has Vigoroth, he has Whiscash, he has Gligar. Azumarill, there is play for Bastion because there is no Hydro Pump available. And even, I think you mentioned, there is some play against Gligar as well, but you just don't want to finish out that matchup because eventually Gligar usually gets that 3rd dig.
That's absolutely right. And looking at these teams of 6, I think they both have some flexible options here. It's not just going to be Bastion or Buzz.
Oh, there it is! There it is! To start off the grand finals, it's the Bastion into the Charger Bug, instant pivot into Whiscash, met by the Shadow Poliwrath. It looks like ABHINAV did get a little bit of an energy advantage, but how much is that going to matter? Like he said, he's just going for Mud Bombs now. He doesn't need the Skull Bait. Wait a second. Actually protect shielding this, because I know one thing. Bastion doesn't need a single Protect Shield against Charger Bug, so you might as well use him with the Shadow Poliwrath.
And I think Caleb is thinking perhaps that first Mud Bomb will do a little bit more damage if he hits the Skull debuff here. The good news for ABHINAV, though, is unlike Caleb's past opponents, he's actually not ABA weak to the Bastion. He's just A weak.
Yeah, he was weak to it in the lead, but that was enough to gain some sort of advantage here, because you got the attack drop here, you use the Protect Shield, but you're able to get a couple counters of energy. You're going to at least be able to throw a Scald into that Charger Bug. Here comes the Charger Bug. You're going to want to be patient, get to that Scald. Here is the Scald from Caleb here, but you're going to be able to soak all that energy with Bastion.
And this is looking like an uphill battle for ABHINAV. This energy from Charger Bug isn't going to be doing a whole lot. Looks like he's trying to get an energy advantage here, but met by the Azumarill from Caleb. Even though this Azumarill is down, if you look at those bubbles, they are already chunking away super effective damage.
Remember, this is the Timeless Travels update, and in this update, Bubble got a damage increase. So Azumarill was already strong, and now it does a little bit more damage with that bubble. It is down a Protect Shield, but I'm not sure how much that is going to matter, because you're going to be able to land this Ice Beam. Yes, it gets Protect Shielded up, but you're just whittling down this Gligar, and eventually that Bastion is be able to clean up everything.
I think that's exactly right. Look at how low this Gligar is, and Azumarill still has a shield. Getting the last Protect Shield from ABHINAV here probably with this Ice Beam, but even if ABHINAV is able to get through this Azumarill, I think that Bastion is just going to be able to smack down.
Yeah, and one dig is not going to even knock out a Bastion here, so it's going to be able to soak that up if it comes down to it. Looks like Caleb's going to just save that Protect Shield for the Bastion. You had 2 options there. You could have tried to get some more bubbles off, and they actually do endure, so you do get 1 more bubble off. That's nice for Caleb. I'm sure he's going to bring in the Bastion. Here comes the Bastion. I don't think you get the double dig, so that's why you're trying to bait with the Aerial Ice so you can maybe get to a dig, but I don't know if you get to a dig.
Yeah, I think he's going to get to a dig now, though, thanks to that bait. Barely able to get there. Maybe on see if he do go for catch.
Oh, he tries to catch it. It's a simultaneous swap. ABHINAV saw it coming. He swapped at the same time Caleb swapped, and suddenly it's not over. You need to land a discharge, though. Can you get double discharge? It looks like the damage registered. I think you get double discharge here.
Wait, you get the discharges, but doesn't the Gligar also have a dig loaded? Does this discharge put the Bastion into
No, you get double discharge. You get double discharge, and now the double discharge, it has to be in dig range now, right? This is a Shadow Gligar. It's double super effective. I think Bastion is going to be going down. It's Cap. Charge attack priority. I don't think Bastion can endure.
And Bastion is an incredibly tanky Pokemon, but actually does faint to that dig. And ABHINAV out of nowhere taking that first game.
Incredible patience from ABHINAV, knowing that Caleb needed to swap to avoid that dig. Swaps at the exact same time, gets that volt switch on the swap, and he actually needed that volt switch, I think, to land the double discharge. I'm not sure if one discharge would have put Bastiodon in range of dig.
What an incredible game. Hard countered in the lead, Chargebug into Bastiodon. Also a little bit countered on the swap there, Poliwrath into Whiscash. Caleb did have to give up one protect shield there. Maybe not actually necessary, but ABHINAV doing all the little things, getting the energy lead on the Gligar, anticipating that swap there from Caleb, and finally able to take out the Bastiodon with a very low health Gligar.
What a ridiculous comeback from ABHINAV there. It was interesting that Caleb did decide to use that protect shield on the Poliwrath. I don't think it was necessary, but I want to point out, I think ABHINAV is going to be looking to do similar things this series. If you can avoid the Azumarill matchup with your Shadow Gligar looks really strong against Caleb's team.
I think that's exactly right. I'm expecting to see ABHINAV bring that Gligar in pretty much every single game. Remember, now he's already up 1-0, just needs 2 more games, and it looks like Caleb maybe was trying to do what he did last series, bringing that Bastiodon to kind of get in the opponent's head, but he tried to do that game 1 here, but it didn't pay off. ABHINAV stayed patient, stayed with it, and made an incredible comeback.
And we've seen this matchup before. The Azumarill into the Whiscash is a great matchup for the Azumarill, and I don't know if ABHINAV is going to try to go for an upside Scald play. He said in his interview he's not going to try to go for those plays, but I feel like he might be going for it, though. He is going to decide to just bank up energy, and then last second, almost at 100, throw the Mud Bomb.
So this is a very bad matchup for the Whiscash. We actually saw last series, remember, Whiscash can even spend a Protect Shield here and still lose switch advantage. So I'm guessing that ABHINAV maybe saw that, maybe going to be happy to just soft lose this, because just like we were saying, Azumarill is the only counter to Shadow Gligar, right? So once this Azumarill is out of the way or softened up by the Whiscash, I think ABHINAV is going to be putting a lot of weight onto that Gligar in the back.
I agree with that, because if you do soft lose that, you can just come in with Lickitung. You just lick down, you save the Protect Shields for the Shadow Gligar, and you still have a lot of options. So even though this looks rough for ABHINAV here, it's not too bad. I don't think you're going to commit anything to this Whiscash, and weirdly, it feels like his Whiscash is doing better than Kobe's Whiscash was doing in that opener of last series.
Caleb just throwing off this Ice Beam here. I don't think this is quite enough to KO, but maybe just looking to get, oh, actually it is.
Yeah, that was a nice Ice Beam there. Azumarill for CalebPeng has been getting a lot of knockouts in these matchups, and now you're going to actually get to a play rough too. It doesn't look like Caleb wants to pivot. You know, usually Caleb pivots there. Caleb has been so fluid in his gameplay, especially when he doesn't have Bastiodon on his team. He's been pivoting, and instead he just lets the Lickitung use energy swap, but now you're down energy against Gligar.
Yeah, I think, you know, Caleb normally would pivot there, but perhaps recognizing how good that Gligar is, and he risked bringing that Chargebug in the back, which we know is so terrible in its matchup against Gligar, so potentially didn't want to give that up.
Caleb is in a tough position for 2 reasons. 1, he's down energy in this mirror matchup. 2, Lickitung beats Chargebug neutrally. I don't know how he comes out of this. He is down in 2 matchups, the matchup in front of him and the matchup in the back, and he just used his first Protect Shield of the game on Aerial Ace.
And it's looking good for ABHINAV. Like you said, I think ABHINAV has the advantage in not only in this particular matchup, but also in that backline matchup. Like we said, even though the lead was bad, it's not a 1 versus 1 game. It's 3 versus 3, and I think ABHINAV's backline really counters Caleb's here.
And here comes the Aerial Ace. ABHINAV is thinking, does he go for his last Protect Shield of the game? He does go for it. Now, the timer is almost up. No, it's not quite up yet, but maybe about 10 more seconds. You can throw the Aerial Ace there, but wow, wait a second. Now, suddenly, Caleb is going to have an extra Protect Shield with the Chargebug. This is almost going to knock out. Do you swap, try to get a Volt Switch through? Wait a second, it did knock out. Now you're up a shield with Chargebug. What is happening?
Yeah, I'm curious why ABHINAV didn't try to throw that last Aerial Ace on the opposing Gligar. I believe he was up energy, so he should have been there.
He was, I think, 2 or 3 wing attacks over Aerial Ace, if I counted correctly, and he didn't throw it. Maybe he was expecting the timers were up, but his timer was exactly synced with Caleb. So he knew where the timer was exactly. So that was a bit of a misstep, and that misstep is going to cost them a crucial game number 2.
Yeah, I think maybe just lost the count a little bit there, or maybe, like you said, maybe try to anticipate a swap, or maybe thinking that the aerial ace didn't even knock out there, but regardless of the reason, I think that did cost him, and Caleb is going to be able to tie up the series now.
And it is 1-1 in this grand finals. In game number 1, ABHINAV made that amazing play. Game number 2, he gave life to Caleb, and so it kind of evens out here at a 1-1 score, and it's anyone's series now. He had a good chance of having a commanding 2-0 lead versus Caleb, and how hard would that be, being down 0-2 and you have to reset the bracket and then win it all, but ABHINAV let one of these games go.
Yeah, that game did just kind of slip through ABHINAV's hand, but I think he had the right strategy there. He had the Whiscash lead into the Azumarill. That's not necessarily where he wanted the Azumarill, but he wanted it not on his Gligar. He got what he wanted. Here's that lead matchup again, this Ice Beam barely taking out the Whiscash, and then it's going to get licked down, or, well, the Lickitung is going to take it out, excuse me. But here's that Aerial Ace moment where I don't know why ABHINAV didn't throw the Aerial Ace, would have gotten a Protect Shield, which would have helped in this matchup, or just threatened to take out that Gligar altogether.
Yeah, definitely would have gotten the Protect Shield, I think. And then, like you mentioned, there would be no Protect Shield against this Charge Bug. It would be in the zeros, that matchup, and Lickitung could win it. Here we are. We're back in game number 3 of your Portland Grand Finals. And here we are again. It's the Azumarill into the Whiscash in the lead. It's the exact same backline, but look at this. Caleb changed his backline, so instead of running Charger Bug to face the Lickitung, which loses neutrally, now he has Bastiodon to beat the Lickitung neutrally.
And ABHINAV is seeing this lead, probably thinking that he can play it out the same way he did before, but maybe just play a little bit better in the endgame. But he's going to have this very unpleasant surprise of the Bastiodon, because if he loses switch advantage, the Glygars will be on in the mirror match, and the Lickitung is going to be on the Bastiodon, which is a very bad matchup for the Lickitung.
And he probably feels confident that he can just play it out exactly like he played it out in game number 2, and just play better. And just throw that Aerial Ace, pick up the Protect Shield, and just do things differently. But it's not the same game as game number 2. Now Bastiodon's in the back, so if it plays out equally, I think Caleb is pretty far ahead here, because it's destined to be Bastiodon versus that Lickitung.
I think that's exactly right. That's what we might see end up happening. Remember last game, this Ice Beam took out the Whiscash, and ABHINAV is probably just going to bring in the Lickitung here, maybe try to throw a Body Slam. I don't think we're going to see... Oh, Caleb actually pivots out, though.
Wow, I was saying this last game that usually Caleb pivots, and this time was the one time you have Bastiodon. I don't know if you pivot with Bastiodon, but that is why Caleb is a unique Bastiodon player, because it's not all about alignment for him. He just wants to play the game fluidly, and he thinks Bastiodon is a very strong neutral pick, and he got the swap he wanted anyway. The patience, trying to catch a dig, but catches an Aerial Ace instead.
And Caleb, I think, wanted to save that Azumarill for this Gligar he might have been anticipating, but now the problem is, I don't think ABHINAV knows there's a Bastiodon. He doesn't know just how valuable this Gligar is. That Lickitung isn't going to be able to finish it off, and unfortunately this Gligar is locked in here. It's getting very, very deep into the red, almost getting wing attacks down here.
And even if he didn't think Bastiodon is in the back, it would actually, if ABHINAV thought it was Charge Bug in the back, I'm surprised he did bring in that Gligar, because Gligar would have been so strong against that Charge Bug in the back. As Caleb does secure the knockout, this Lickitung is going to be able to lick down, but no, actually doesn't even lick down, because the Aerial Ace is coming out, and Lickitung's going to be too low, or use a Protect Shield, and you got a full Bastiodon incoming.
And Butters, we've said it before, ABHINAV kind of chuckling when he sees this Bastiodon, but Lickitung is not a closer, right? It doesn't have the charge attack pressure that you need. Even though there are 2 shields up here, I don't think there's a single Pokemon in the backline that it could have been, where this Lickitung would have been in a winning position.
Yeah, trying to go for the bait here on that Body Slam. It doesn't pay off. Caleb knew it. As soon as he brought Bastiodon up, he kind of looked at ABHINAV, looked at the crowd, knew it was a GG, because his favorite Pokemon is going to give him a 2-1 advantage in these grand finals with just a couple more Smackdowns.
Didn't even need to use that Azumarill that he saved, and I think ABHINAV, you know, maybe a little bit detached from the end of that game here, doesn't want to see the Bastiodon taking out his Lickitung and potentially just starting to plan out for this game 4.
And there were 3 Pokemon and 2 shields remaining for Caleb at the end of that game. That is extremely rare, and suddenly where ABHINAV, I felt like, was so close to winning game number 2, he has now lost all his momentum. Yes, he came in on the winner's side of the bracket, but he lost a winnable game, and now he got beat pretty badly in that game number 3.
And here's that critical moment where he brings the Gligar into the opposing Gligar. Again, remember, he doesn't actually know what's in the back for Caleb, but in this case, conditional on there being a Bastiodon, you can't switch in your Gligar there, because now there's really no way to take it out.
Yeah, and the Bastiodon does secure it, and really, I feel like puts all the pressure on ABHINAV now, because ABHINAV, yes, I know, even if he loses this series, it is a bracket reset, but you don't want to keep this momentum rolling for Caleb. So you need to make the adjustments. CalebPeng was making the adjustments from game number 2 to switch the neutral pick from Charge Bug to Bastiodon, which was a very smart pick. Now, I feel like ABHINAV is going to throw something new at Caleb, because also he has that room for error.
He does have that room for error, but yeah, let's see how ABHINAV decides to switch it up, because whatever is happening right now isn't working. We do see, oh my goodness, Lickitung into a Bastiodon, just how the last game ended.
And 2 Bastiodon counters in the back, so swapping in the Whiscash meant by the Poliwrath. Now we need to key in on, will Caleb make the same decision? Is he gonna shield this Mud Bomb? We saw in game number, he does it again. He doubles down, he thinks this strategy is going to work out in the end using the Protect Shield.
I think that turned out pretty well for ABHINAV in game 1, because it ended up being that ABHINAV needed to land a critical charge attack in the end game, and Caleb didn't have a shield because he used it on this Mud Bomb here. ABHINAV actually choosing to shield up this Scald there. Is he thinking that he can maybe switch this matchup?
And he got the attack drop, so I don't think he can switch the matchup now. Gonna throw the Mud Bomb. Maybe you could have won the zeros with double Mud Bomb before the attack drop. That's why Caleb decided to use the Protect Shield here, but there's just no way now. You just don't have the reach. This Mud Bomb doesn't do as much damage. You can let this go if you're Caleb. You can throw the Icy Wind and then probably get a Protect Shield. You have all the momentum in this matchup.
Well, this does seem like it was part of ABHINAV's plan to maybe actually, I was going to say bait out the Poliwrath, but looking at ABHINAV's team, he's actually pretty much triple weak to this Poliwrath. The good news is, though, he's going to have to rely a lot on this Vigoroth. It's going to have a lot of play against that Bastiodon. It does technically have play against that Shadow. Oh my goodness, getting an energy advantage, but taking a lot of super effective counter damage.
Yeah, that was a lot. Now it's about 65% health, and yes, it can beat Shadow Gligar in the 1 Protect Shield situation, but that's when Vigoroth is at full health. I mean, it's going to be able to land this Body Slam into the Gligar. I think that was charge attack priority. I believe the Aerial Ace did register.
I think it did. Here comes that Aerial Ace. I think ABHINAV needs to shield this up. Otherwise, he has no way to get through the Bastiodon. What ABHINAV needs to happen is he needs to take out this Gligar. He needs to get enough counter damage off on the Bastiodon for that Lickitung to be able to clean it up.
That's exactly right. You need to keep this Vigoroth around, because it just 5 counters, 6 counters, it might be enough to flip that matchup between Lickitung and Bastiodon, and that's what you need to do in this situation. Swap into the Lickitung and then swap into the Bastiodon, but there's 2 things to look at here. Bastiodon will win this matchup, but my biggest question is how much time on the switch timers will be available once Bastiodon wins this matchup, and I know that must be going through Caleb's head also.
ABHINAV did switch just a split second before Caleb did, so I think there's just a couple seconds of delay. Caleb reacted pretty quickly though, but the thing is, how much margin does Bastiodon win this matchup by, right? Because I don't think the switch clock, or sorry, I think the switch clock is going to come up before this matchup ends. ABHINAV is going to come in, try to get some counters off, and then try to come out with a Body Slam for the Gligar.
And if you are Caleb, how much do you delay your victory? We've seen this in a matchup before between Onion Frank had a Skarmory against a Gligar. Even though Skarmory beats Gligar, he wanted to lose the matchup because he didn't want to give momentum to the other opponent. The switch timer is actually pretty much up. It looks like ABHINAV is just reaching for it and then throws the Power Whip. It looks like it will be available as soon as this Power Whip comes off. If you can sneak in a counter or 2, here comes the Vigoroth. It's unleashed with the counters, but
Caleb sees it coming.
He saw it instantly, and the quick reflex is to throw the Stone Edge and knock out the Vigoroth.
And that really was ABHINAV's only play to try to take advantage of that desynchronized switch timer to get some energy, maybe come out with energy for this Gligar, but unfortunately, Caleb saw it coming. He already had the energy banked on that Gligar as well. And all of a sudden, Caleb up 3-1. I think that's a Grand Finals reset.
That is a Grand Finals reset. He won this series 3-1 on the loser side. So now ABHINAV and Caleb both have one loss in the tournament. That means they replay the Grand Finals, and whoever wins the Grand Finals will be your 2024 Portland Regional Champion.
So much momentum for Caleb here. Just before this, remember, in those losers finals, we saw him climb out of an 0-2 hole to take that 3-2 victory. Here, he was down 0-1, and he's already up 3-1, gotten that reset, and now he's into the Grand Finals.
And here are the replays from that last series, and where I believe ABHINAV really had so much momentum going into game 2. He was in a position in game number 2 where he had a Gligar versus Gligar with energy advantage, and then a Lickitung versus Charjabug in the back at shield parity. I think a lot of the time ABHINAV wins that game, but he let that game go, and that was the start to a 3-0 from Caleb.
That's right, gave Caleb a lot of momentum here, but you know what, the Grand Finals reset, these players are still sitting on the stage in the same place. Maybe it feels to them like they're just playing another battle, but I think ABHINAV really needs to take advantage of maybe a mental reset here. He's lost 3 games straight here, but has the opportunity, you know, just pretend there's a clean slate, pretend those games didn't happen, maybe kind of try to go back to what worked for you in game 1 and almost worked in game 2.
And on the other side, Caleb, who is familiar with this because he has reset a Grand Finals bracket before, I believe, against Ramberto, but he couldn't finish. And that has been a theme for him where he's been in these second place placings and he couldn't quite become the champion. What has he learned from that in the past, and can he use that to take down ABHINAV in this Grand Finals? I believe ABHINAV has the new meta team right now. He was on the winner's side. He lost 1-3, but he still has a chance, and he has the Azumarill leading against Bastion. He's actually shaking his head a little bit.
Yeah, these bubbles are super effective, but all of those charge attacks are resistant. It actually goes straight away into the Whiscash. Unlike before, it's actually not met by the Poliwrath, it's met by the Azumarill.
And I'm actually surprised by that swap. Yes, you can lose the Bastion because you have Ice Beam Play Rough, but Bubble does more damage now, and even if you lose, it would be a very soft loss. And how much do you actually need the alignment in the back? You would probably just get, wow, Protect Shielding on an Ice Beam.
Oh yeah, I don't know about this. We've seen this before. Whiscash can lose this matchup even using one Protect Shield. See, I thought ABHINAV's plan was going to be to put it all on that Vigoroth. I think the reason he swapped is because, yes, Azumarill has a decent but not great matchup into the Bastion, but Vigoroth and Whiscash have a very dominant matchup, right? I thought he was just going to try to put it all on the Vigoroth, but it looks like he's already choosing to invest in this Whiscash, maybe trying to flip switch advantage.
He definitely did invest, and it was actually interesting that Caleb went for that Ice Beam there, and now he's going to be able to throw another Ice Beam because he knows 2 charge attacks is going to be his win condition against the Whiscash. So you don't need to throw the Play Rough, you just want to try to go for double Ice Beam here, and your timer's back up, but you don't really want to swap into anything with Bastion and Gligar in your back line.
But this is actually a little bit different from that lead versus lead matchup. Look at this, Caleb is being forced to shield, but actually I think this Whiscash is very close to a Mud Bomb. It might even be able to outpace the Azumarill and get off a charge attack before this Ice Beam. No, it's not. The Ice Beam comes up first.
And will Azumarill and Caleb win this alignment here? ABHINAV is just going for it. He's doubling down. He's trying to take out that Bastion in the back with the Vigoroth. I think he can do it. He just has to get the double Mud Bomb. Here's the first Mud Bomb. And I feel like Caleb's going to let this go or either shield and swap because you can't win the alignment. You just got to let it go. He's got to swap.
He shields, but he has the double already.
He has the double. What does he do? He has to swap somewhere.
No,
he lets it go. A rare mistake from Caleb there. I don't know if he knew he was at the double, but ABHINAV, we thought it was a strange play, but he won swap.
He won switch advantage. Now he's going to get that alignment that he wanted. Vigoroth on Bastion and Azumarill. He doesn't know it yet, but it's going to be seeing a Gligar in the back. And all of a sudden, Whiscash versus Azumarill. Whiscash took that matchup.
Yeah, straight Mud Bomb. That was crazy. And now it's Vigoroth versus Bastion. And yes, they don't know it yet what the backline matchup will be, but this is pretty much a wrap. And suddenly where ABHINAV felt like he had no momentum at all, he has it all back here because he's going to comfortably take out this Gligar and take this game number 1 of the Grand Finals.
It's going to be a slow death though because we don't have any charge attack pressure on ABHINAV's side to take out that Bastion. Remember, this Azumarill only has Ice Beam and Play Rough. Vigoroth only has Body Slam and Rock Slide. So it's really just going to be fast moves taking out that Bastion.
Yeah, it's going to be bubble and counter finishing up the day for ABHINAV here, but there's not enough health on the Bastion, and Bastion still has to get through this Azumarill. Yes, you don't have any charge attacks that really threaten, but if Bastion can win this, Bastion is just insane.
Those bubbles are adding up, almost at parity in terms of health with this Azumarill once the bubble lands. But remember, we've still got that Vigoroth in the back on the side of ABHINAV. I mean, I think what Caleb would need to do here is build up to 2 stone edges.
And he threw on charge attack priority, and that's not what Caleb was looking for there. He was trying to land that Stone Edge before to try to land the Stone Edge into the Vigoroth, and now you're just going to be way too low because you can't bank double Stone Edge if you are Bastion. You just don't have the energy capabilities because you cap out at 100 energy. So one counter, oh, Rock Slide instead of the extra counter. Rock Slide is gonna knock out CalebPeng, and ABHINAV has all those momentums back. He is up 1-0 against CalebPeng.
It looks like ABHINAV found the recipe. Remember, we saw those games earlier. He played Whiscash into a Azumarill lead, I believe twice, and lost that game, lost that matchup as well. But all of a sudden here, Whiscash on the safe swap, just up a little bit of energy, was actually able to flip the 2s against Azumarill.
What do you do against the safe swap Whiscash? Because we've seen now the Azumarill lose the 2s, and we've also seen this safe swap Whiscash take shields from Shadow Poliwrath. Those are your best answers from Azumarill and Shadow Poliwrath, and Whiscash is just going through. Maybe that was the secret sauce here for Portland. That was the thing missing from Wadaj's team. Whiscash has been so good for ABHINAV.
It has been good. I have to wonder if Caleb is going to bring that Poliwrath back just to counter that Whiscash safe swap, which ABHINAV just employed to great effect.
I mean, we did not expect to win the 2s here, even going straight Ice Beam for Caleb. Caleb wasn't even getting to play rough energy, and we're just back in it. And it is going to be game number 2 of the Grand Finals reset. It's going to be Bastion once again versus Shadow Gligar. Safe swap into his own Shadow Gligar. There's not a clear answer, so it looks like ABHINAV is going to stay in. And this time, I think he's going to try to capitalize on that one wing attack advantage.
That's right, he does get that fantastic lead. Caleb forced to swap, now he's locked in, and now ABHINAV has chipped and dipped, going into his own Lickitung. But actually now he's not going to be able to line up the Lickitung on that Azumarill in the back. Oh, and I think this is a charge attack priority.
If that is a charge attack priority, that's pretty big for ABHINAV because Caleb is at double aerial ace. So if it is in fact a cap, we're gonna find out if it registered yes. So now Caleb has a tough decision. You can see on his face, does he try to commit to the Gligar? Yeah, you didn't want to waste all that energy.
That's right, that's a great play by ABHINAV, by the way, throwing on even a losing charge attack priority, which isn't generally a good thing, but if your opponent is doubled up like that, you're actually forcing them to shield or lose that second attack that they have.
And I think you actually get a shield back here because you throw the aerial ace and then you throw the dig, and that dig should either get a knockout or a protect shield, but ABHINAV cuts it off with the body slam. I love that play from ABHINAV, and you get both of the protect shields out of Caleb here.
And he does get both protect shields, but remember, Caleb has 2 extremely bulky Pokemon. In general, this is where he would want to invest in protect shields. ABHINAV actually letting this dig go, all of a sudden giving up switch advantage, but the thing is, he has that double ground core, Butters. He's trapped the Bastion.
Yeah, he's gonna bring in the Azumarill, and then once he sees that Whiscash, there is no way, no shot a Bastion can get through a Whiscash, and especially when you have a 2 protect shield advantage.
And here comes that dig on the Azumarill, expecting a swap from ABHINAV here. Now that the Azumarill is softened, you can just let this Whiscash finish out the game. He's actually up 2 shields as well. He knows these Ice Beams are going to do more than any charge attack from Bastion, and ABHINAV all of a sudden has the momentum back.
He does. He is close to being up 2-0 in this matchup, in this Grand Finals reset. He has the Whiscash, which, how about double grounds here in Portland? Whiscash Shadow Gligar has been so strong, and especially against a Bastion team, it looks even stronger.
And we saw Caleb before kind of dictating the pace of the matchup, bringing that Bastion in to get into the opponent's head. But I think he's brought it just a little bit too much now. These last couple of games, all it's seen, it's going to see the Whiscash now. And last game also found a disadvantageous matchup against the Vigoroth after giving up switch advantage.
And that Mud Bomb doesn't quite knock out, but you will get the Mud Shot down. You still have 1 protect shield remaining, and you will secure, no. Look at this Azumarill. It still has some fight left in it. Gonna get that last protect shield on the Whiscash and go down, but you have all this energy on the Whiscash. You can double Mud Bomb here, no problem. I believe the Gligar even has a little energy as well.
And ABHINAV looking very unconcerned by that ice beam. Here comes that first mud bomb. Actually, doesn't even do half of what Bastion has. Gonna throw after 4 more mud shots here on perfect timing there. And then just a couple more mud shots. Maybe even just throw that last mud bomb as well.
Yeah, 2 more mud shots. Throw the mud bomb, secure the 2-0 lead, and then he gets it right there. There's the mud bomb. There's the knockout. ABHINAV is up 2-0 against CalebPeng and is 1 game away from being your Portland Regional Champion. But Soph, remember, Caleb was in this exact position in the losers finals versus Kobe. He was in an 0-2 hole and he was able to reverse sweep to make it into the grand finals. Can he repeat that magic?
Well, ABHINAV is on a roll here. Looks like he has some momentum back. And Caleb, by the way, Caleb has been locking in extremely quickly every single game. He's confident. He knows what he's doing. He's been a competitor time and time again.
Yeah, and this was a play I really liked because that Gligar was really close to the dig there. And if you didn't throw that body slam, you would have to commit a protect shield to hold on as a Lickitung. So instead of you using a protect shield, you got a protect shield from Caleb, and then you had your double ground in the back to just hard counter that Bastion. And if ABHINAV is gonna run double ground, I don't think Caleb is best off using Bastion.
It's a great point, Butters. You made a couple of good points there. First of all, ABHINAV managed that awkward switch in very, very well. Like you said, counting perfectly once he brought that Lickitung into Gligar, forcing Caleb to decide whether he wants to shield or just give up the advantage that he thought he could build, right? And second of all, like we said, ABHINAV kind of trapping that Bastion with that double grind. We saw it earlier a couple of times, this Gligar Whiscash core trapping a Registeel, but this time it's found something even more dominant, and that's that Bastion.
Here we are. ABHINAV is 1 game away from being the Portland Regional Champion, and he has Whiscash aligned on Bastion. But not only that, he is ABA strong to Bastion, so now he has the Lickitung to counter this Azumarill. But so, where is Bastion gonna go in this game?
It's looking good for ABHINAV. Again, he has that double ground core. Bastion has nowhere to go. It doesn't even matter if ABHINAV loses switch advantage here, which of course he might not, because Lickitung has a very good matchup against the Azumarill. But ABHINAV has the alignment he needs. He's going to get that Gligar on the Poliwrath in the back as well.
I mean, calling the body slam bait might be big for Caleb here. If he can somehow get some protect shields, his only opportunity here is a protect shield advantage with Shadow Poliwrath in the back. I don't know how he's gonna get that, especially since he just used the protect shield. I don't know how he's gonna get that advantage with Shadow Poliwrath in the back.
Well, he might be going for alignment here. He might be thinking, look, if it's the double ground core, I have very little play anyways. Azumarill can actually technically, I believe, win the 2-shield situation against Lickitung. Caleb might just be going for alignment here, hoping that that Bastion has a target in the back.
And here comes the power whip. There's 1 protect shield remaining. If Caleb tries to call a body slam, it's gonna be really tough for Caleb here. Does he try to call a body slam? He tries to call the body slam, and it's almost a knockout in Azumarill, so it comes down to fast attacks, and Lickitung wins with the 1-turn fast attack. The no-health Lickitung holds on, and suddenly ABHINAV has alignment and shield advantage.
And ABHINAV able to get the Gligar on the Poliwrath. He's only behind 1 fast attack, and he has to be feeling good. Caleb going for the catch here. ABHINAV doesn't fall for it, brings in that Whiscash, and I think ABHINAV knows he is going to take this 3-0 victory.
There was nowhere for Bastion to go. The only place this Bastion can go is back in its Pokeball, because there's 2 ground types in the back for ABHINAV. The boldness from CalebPeng to bring the Bastion against this double ground team. ABHINAV decided to run ABA ground, and it worked out.
Caleb said he's living or dying by the Bastion, and you have to give him credit. This Bastion got him so far. It made such a difference in a lot of his matchups throughout his run. Unfortunately, not going to be quite able to get it in this grand finals, but you know what? Caleb got very far with this Pokemon that he hasn't brought a lot in the past.
It's been very impressive to see him put the Bastion on the field. It has won him games, but in this scenario, in this meta where you have Gligar and Whiscash being number 1 and number 2 in usage in the top cut, it might have not been the opportunity, and ABHINAV will be your Portland Regional Grand Champion.
Congratulations to ABHINAV, first time appearing in the top cut, taking out so many big names, coming in on the winner side of the bracket, fends off CalebPeng after that grand finals reset.